Hello,
Welcome back to another episode of This American Tries.
That American Tries.
This one. I'm Kara,
I'm Nick.
and welcome back.
Thank you.
All right. So, do you want to tell them what we're talking about today?
I can't remember.
We are talking about the differences between working in the UK and working in the US.
All right.
That is quite different. I have done both, obviously.
I haven't, although actually I've spent a lot of my life working for American companies, HQ'd in the US. So I get a little look into the working culture, but I've never been paid in America or
Right. So you still have to, even though you've worked for American companies, they still have to pay you and employ you as a British employee.
yeah, under UK law
Yeah.
and with all of the stuff that goes with that. So while I've worked in an American office and done all of that kind of stuff, I've not really had a huge window into working life in America. So I'm hoping to learn a lot from you today.
Well, yeah, I mean, I work in a salon, so my direct salon environment isn't incredibly different, but the structure around it is a bit different. First and foremost, I only get paid once a month.
That's a big difference, right?
Huge difference. I'm used to getting paid bi-weekly, and in a lot of American companies, they'll pay you every week.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah. So that was a big difference for me. Managing my money, getting paid once a month was just absolutely mind boggling to me. I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, I've always kind of worried about that. Well, not worried. I've always wondered about that. Because obviously your bills all come out once a month, right?
Yeah.
So like your rent or like your mortgage will come out once a month, your gas bill, your electricity, your utilities, they're all monthly.
Yes.
So that makes more sense to me. Also, like when it comes to like a business running a payroll and paying people, obviously that's expensive for the business to do, right? And
Mm-hmm.
takes a lot of time and resource. So I always thought and maybe I'm being biased because I'm British and that's the way that we do things here, but I always just thought like once a month made a little bit more sense.
I guess, but not everything comes out at the first of the month.
No.
Like if you have to kind of be mindful of everything that you're spending because you know that you're not getting paid again for a month. So yes, it's a bigger lump sum, but managing that for me at least was difficult because I knew if my funds were a little low, okay, well, I'm going to be paid on Friday or next Friday. I'll never go more than 2 weeks without being paid,
Mm.
which was just what I got used to. It was that way my whole life. I think I maybe worked one job when I was a lot younger where I got paid every week. But obviously, when you're a kid, you don't really have to worry about bills so much.
No.
But doing it this way was really difficult for me at first. And I have since had to set up a monthly budget where I have to think of all of my outgoings at the beginning of the month and plan for everything to go out, when it's going to go out.
Yeah.
Because I'll forget, oh, yeah, I've had that £50 bill I have to pay, but I've forgotten about it. And it's like, oh, now what?
So how would that have worked when you were in the States and you were getting paid bi-weekly?
Well, most of my stuff was just on auto pay because I knew that there would always be money in there to pay it.
Mm.
But it was just easier to, I think, know that, okay, out of this paycheck, these bills are going to come out. I'll pay my rent with this. I'll pay my phone bill with this. I'll pay, 2 weeks groceries with it.
Mm.
And then on the next check, it was like, okay, car insurance, car payment. Those are two bigger ones. So one big payment with the rent on one, and then two smaller big payments out of the second check. And then you just sort of budget in between. Okay, I need to buy groceries. I need to put gas in the car.
Yeah.
And for me, it was just easier. But I guess because this is just the way that you've been used to it since whenever you started working,
Yeah.
this is normal to you.
Yeah.
But for me, really was difficult at the beginning. I still struggle a little bit. Even when things pop up like birthdays, I'm like, oh, forgot to budget for that birthday gift. Or, we're going on vacation. It's like, okay, well, I've got to make sure that I budget for that because I won't be getting paid again before we go on vacation
Mm.
or while we're on vacation or whatever.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah, it's just one of those things where financial planning gets very important.
It's very important to me now.
Yeah, but again, like you say, it's not something that I think it's something we take for granted, or something that we're just very used
Mhm.
to. I don't think that I've ever been paid weekly since sort of having an annual salary.
Right.
I think maybe when I got paid by like the hour,
Mhm.
like when I worked in like retail stores when I was younger, maybe then I got paid weekly, but I can't even remember if I'm completely honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Yeah, but getting paid monthly really was a struggle for me. I'm getting better at it now after being here for, a year and a half. Having worked here for the better part of that, I'm getting better at it, but it is definitely something that I still struggle with, and at the beginning really, really struggled with. But as I said, it can be tricky budgeting for vacation.
Hmm.
That's something else that's different,
Yeah,
very different. In the UK, there is a law that states that whatever job that you have, high, low, or in between, you have to be given 28 days holiday. Is that correct?
it is correct.
And it doesn't matter how long you've been employed there.
Yeah, from the get go.
If it's the second you have a job, you have 28 days holiday.
Yeah, that's the way we do it. We definitely believe in taking time off, and having a bit more of a work-life balance, which I think is probably a big difference that I definitely, from working with American people,
Yeah.
um, that they will often say, I can't believe how much vacation you guys get. And there are some
Yeah.
US companies that will have like unlimited vacation, or PTO as they call it. Um, but the fact that we even get that is pretty amazing to them. What was it like in the States for you?
So for me, I was pretty lucky that I always worked in jobs like since I got out of college and started my career. I've always had a job where I've had paid vacation, but it was always based off of how many hours you worked was how many paid vacation hours you received. And it usually didn't start accumulating until 90 days after your start date. So you
Yeah,
couldn't just start work and then work there for a month and then take 2 weeks off paid. You'd have to be employed for 3 months before you even started accumulating vacation hours and then build those up to take the time off. And most of the time, you wouldn't be allowed to take more than a week off at a time anyway.
hmm.
Um, so, and again, like my industry is a little different. I'm not in an office setting. I don't work a typical 9 to 5.
No.
So I know that maybe my world is a little bit skewed compared to maybe what it would be like for you
Hmm.
if you can't take time off at the same time as someone else, and you know it can be a bit trickier. A lot of the times people in America won't even take their paid vacation even if they have it.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't want to say it's frowned upon, but it is more difficult. Like, okay, well, no, but we need you here. Okay, or we've got a project coming up, you can't have this week, you can't.
Hmm.
And to some extent it's like that for me now because we can't have our whole staff off. I work at a small business, so obviously everybody can't have the same week off or the place won't open.
Hmm.
So to an extent it's like that for me, but not completely. I mean, like, I think I started working at the location that I work at now around Christmas time, and I immediately had a paid day off. Like, not
Yeah.
even a month later, I took time off. It was pre planned, but yeah, it was no issue. Paid, no problem.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you take a job and you say, I've already got some planned vacation, or I've got some planned time off, they have to honor that.
Yeah, I think every job that I've worked at in the States, if I've started a new job and I've said, look, I've got this vacation planned, they'll usually give it to you, but it won't be paid.
Yeah, they'll say, well, yeah, you can take it,
Hmm.
but as you won't have been here long enough, we're not going to give it to you paid,
Right.
which kind of makes sense, I suppose. Um, but yeah, we do. I mean, I think that's, as I said, like one of the big differences is that work life balance that we see. It's like, okay, everyone gets that time off to be with their family or their loved ones, or
Mm-hmm.
just to hang out by themselves if they want. Do whatever you want with it. 28 days, that can include our bank holidays, I
Mm-hmm.
understand.
Yeah.
Um, but you have, those 4 weeks a year where you can take some time off to go on holiday. It also kind of makes sense for like working parents that they can work that around their kids' school schedules. So it makes a ton of sense. But yeah, it was definitely a big shock for me when I started working with American people, but also when you and I started dating,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like, oh, I can come over, and you were like, what? You can just
What?
take time off work? Yes, I can. I can. I
You can just
can. You can't. So
no.
I'm just going to be, sat in the apartment while you're working, but we'll go out for dinner. But yeah, it's a big that work life balance is a big difference.
Yeah.
That I've noticed that American people, I feel like sick time as well. You don't really get that so much.
Well, we're gonna talk about sick time.
Ah, what a beautiful segue! I'm good at
Uh-huh.
this. I'm
You
good at
are.
this. So sick time, yeah, sick time is something that we get. I'm not sure into exactly what the law is, but I think like you can have 5 days without a doctor's note, 5 consecutive days.
Yeah, I don't know. I know at my job I don't get paid for sick days,
Mm,
but I do get statutory sick pay. Do you want
yeah,
to explain what that means?
no, because I don't understand what statutory means. No. So with statutory sick pay, it's a certain amount that's dictated by the government. I'm not sure exactly what that number is.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't taken like long-term sick or anything
Mm-hmm.
for well ever, I don't think. But statutory sick pay is it's a number. It's a number that's given by the government, like a certain amount per day or per week, that by law your business has to pay. And for a lot of businesses, they won't pay above that. Some places will say, no, we'll pay you your daily rate or your agreed rate up until a certain amount of time, and then you're on statutory. I think for a lot of the businesses that I've worked for, we'll pay you your daily rate for 1 to 2 weeks, and then if you get a doctor's note or if you're signed off sick, then you will get statutory sick pay after that. It's not a huge amount of money from what I understand.
So it's basically an extent if you're out of work for an extended period of time. So
Yes.
for us, if something happens, if there's an accident in the states, you can apply for disability,
Yeah.
like short-term disability, which would be I've maybe had a car accident and I broke my leg and I can't go to work, so I'm going to be out for 6 weeks. You can apply for short-term disability, but that's not given to you by your employer. That's given to you by the government. So they don't necessarily have to approve you. Um, but in the UK, it is 28 weeks they will pay you for. You can be
Wow.
out of work for 28 weeks, and your business, your employer, has to abide by that. So if you need to be out of work for 28 weeks, you will likely not get the entirety of your pay, but you will be getting something.
Hmm.
Um, in the US, there is no mandatory sick pay at all. So your employer does not have to give you sick pay at all.
Wow.
Sick days, long term illnesses, nothing. They do not have to. A lot of businesses will, but it's not,
Almost a perk.
yeah, it's not regulated by the government in the US.
Yeah, and you do see that a lot. That's kind of the point I was, I guess, trying to make when we segued into this,
Mm-hmm.
was that you see a lot of people just drag themselves into work before they really are better again,
Yeah,
because they don't want to lose out on the money,
right.
which is really sad.
Yeah.
That you work sick.
You also don't want to miss too much work because you don't want to lose your health insurance.
That's true.
That's another big difference.
Hmm.
So in the US, most people's health insurance is given to them via their employer. So that's obviously a massive difference here is that everybody has health coverage. Everybody
Through the NHS.
through the beautiful NHS.
God bless it.
I'm a big fan of the NHS.
Me too.
It can be scary sometimes if you're transitioning from one job to another, or if you find yourself unemployed in the US. You are now in a bad position because you have no income.
Yeah.
And if you get sick, then you're going to be burdened with medical bills on
Yeah.
top of that.
Yeah.
Or you may feel like you don't want to switch jobs or leave a career or leave maybe a toxic workplace or something like that because you're scared because okay, maybe you can find another job, but your health insurance isn't going to kick in for 90 days. So you're not covered for 90 days and you panic. Like, what if something happens? What if there's a global pandemic?
Wrap yourself up in cotton wool and don't leave your house.
You know? So I think that's another major difference that I actually really love about this country is that everyone's just entitled to care. What a concept.
We don't take that for granted.
I hope not.
Definitely not. Definitely not. I love our NHS. I'm not going to get onto a big political rant here because I don't think anyone's going to appreciate that. I love our NHS. It needs to be protected at all costs. It's something that I'm very fond of. And as I said, I've always traditionally worked for like US HQ companies. So I get offered as part of like a global program, private health as part of that. And it's not something that I really have ever taken because our NHS is incredibly reliable, incredibly hardworking. But I don't need it. But like you say, like most people, their only form of health insurance will come through their employer. So I see how it is so vital for people, and I'm grateful that my American colleagues and counterparts do get access to that. But we are also very fortunate in this country that we get the NHS.
You also get paid maternity leave.
I don't.
Well,
I get paid paternity leave.
you would, but the childbearing people of this country would get paid maternity leave. They get 52 weeks paid maternity leave compared to the US's 12 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yes. And by law, the US does not have to pay you for your maternity leave.
At all?
No.
Wow.
They have to legally hold your position for you.
Yeah.
They can't fill your position.
No.
They do not have to pay you. I had 3 employees when I was managing a salon in America that went out on maternity leave. They got 12 weeks and they did not get paid.
Wow.
So they had to save up so that they could take time off to have their baby and also then pay the bills, the hospital bills, which I think the average cost of delivering a baby in the US, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's around $19,000.
Wow. So 19K is like the hospital cost, and then you have to pay if your business doesn't pay you.
Right. So you're not making any income when you're out for those 12 weeks.
Okay.
Now, again, there are companies and businesses that do pay maternity leave, but you tend to find in an industry like mine that you wouldn't be paid.
Wow. That's insane.
Yeah, so it's 52 weeks in this country. And I believe the first 6 weeks of that, you get 90% of your average pay.
Wow.
And then it would decrease after that. But I think it goes to maybe, I think it depends again on who you work for. But yeah, I believe the first 6 weeks, they have to pay you 90% of your agreed rate. And then, yeah, so 52 weeks, almost, how long is that? It's almost a year.
Wow. That's pretty eye-opening.
Compared to 3 months.
Yeah.
12 weeks. Your body's not even done recovering after 12 weeks.
Yeah, and you also got a 3-month-old that you're gonna have to find some childcare for. I mean, 3-month-old babies. They're wee.
Yeah.
Very, very wee.
12 weeks, unless you have maybe some vacation that you've saved up, or some extra time, but 12 weeks maternity.
Yeah, but if you don't have vacation saved up, I mean, if you don't have vacation,
or you don't have vacation at all, maybe
vacation, then it's kind of an uphill battle.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm feeling for you, USA.
Yeah. So those are 5 main differences that I have noticed between working in the US and the UK. I've obviously never had to take maternity leave, and I'm very lucky that I've never had to take statutory sick either.
Mm.
But I've seen it. I've seen it with other people.
Well, hats off to the USA working mothers.
That's it.
No mean feat. God.
Anything you'd like to add?
Let's not move to America and have children.
All right, fair enough. Yeah.
But yeah, that's really eye-opening.
Mhm.
And I'm genuinely really sad for a lot of people right now, so kind of bummed.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's all good.
That's the reality.
No, that's crazy.
Yeah. All right. Well, on that note,
Thank you so much for watching.
thanks, guys.
We will see you in the next one.
Cheers.
I need my mug.